Now, one of the hottest topics in Formula 1 remains Charles Leclerc, and the tension around him and Ferrari just doesn't seem to come down. Quite the contrary actually, it's reaching a boiling point, and probably one from which there won't be any return, as recent reports about Mercedes and Leclerc being talks for 2024 and beyond have resurfaced. With Hamilton not extending his contract with the Silver Arrows yet, and with the recent assessment about Leclerc's future at Ferrari, the possibility of us witnessing a major shake-up in the drivers' lineup has increased immensely. So join us as we go through the Leclerc-Ferrari saga to determine whether or not the Monegasque will find his next home in the Brackley-based squad. Leclerc experienced one of the heaviest drop-offs at Ferrari in 2023. From a championship contender early in 2022 to a driver that's only 6 points from 3 venues, it's definitely the worst start for Ferrari in years. In fact, this is indeed the worst start for the team ever since the points were remodeled back in 2010. And the fact that Ferrari hasn't led a single lap in 2023 after 3 full races just goes to show that there is massive work to be done in the team. But here comes the interesting part. Will Leclerc want to be part of it? After stating that the only goal that he would have in front of him would be to finish a race and not fight for wins, as that seems like a utopian scenario for the Maranello team, I couldn't help but think, is this the end of Leclerc's hopes with Ferrari? He's been the main catalyst of the recent changes that saw Vasseur, his old team principal at Alfa Romeo, being brought in as a replacement for Mattia Binotto. And when F1 experts were saying that the issue isn't in the team principle, but in the entire philosophy of the team, they were laughed at. Now, 3 races deep in 2023, and look who's laughing. After Sainz's penalty has been reviewed and he hasn't been granted back his P4 finish, Ferrari is likely to enter the upcoming GP with far less motivation than a team should have. Even though Vasseur feels like Leclerc has all of the motivation needed to win a race in 2023, I don't see that happening after the humiliation that Leclerc's gone through in the first 3 races, with the latest one being the sole one that he wasn't able to race fully due to the lap 1 crash with Stroll. On the other hand, Sainz has been delivering more solid results, and even though in a direct battle he's been the slower driver compared to Leclerc, his maturity and calmness are something that may bring him the number 1 role in the team. Now, keep in mind that he was able to outperform Leclerc in their first year as teammates in 2021, and that may be the likely scenario in 2023 if Leclerc continues with his disappointing form. A former F1 management stalwart, Jean-Michel Prat, believes that Sainz's qualities are the ones that actually outweigh those of his Monegasque teammate, with the Spaniard leading by 20 points, and even though he struggled to accept the life at Ferrari in the first place, that isn't playing a huge role right now in his future with the Maranello team. While he's also been linked to departing for Audi from 2026 onwards, Sainz has denied all of these rumours, saying that his home is Ferrari and he's committed to making it work with the Maranello team, hoping that he would be the first driver after Kimi in 2011 to lift that championship trophy. When talking about the comparison between Sainz and Leclerc, Michel Prat went on to say, "I see that Sainz is pushing from the beginning. The story of adapting to the car is no longer valid, so he has to keep it up, because Leclerc is coming back and very strong. He has great innate speed, more than Carlos, who has to work on it more, so he has to push and take maximum points and stay there. Because at Ferrari, the balance changes weight immediately. Now he's in front, but if Leclerc gets in front, his weight, even today, is more than Carlos and Ferrari. He's more considered than Carlos today, and the first mission is to make Carlos more considered than Leclerc." Furthermore, he went on to add that Leclerc has been sold the narrative that he is the number 1 driver in Ferrari, and he hasn't really expected to see his teammate Sainz as one of the biggest threats to his championship hopes. So whenever he sees the Spaniard ahead, it makes him sick to his stomach. I couldn't argue with that, to be quite honest, but eventually things are bound to reach a point of no return, at which point Sainz may have a new teammate from 2024 onwards, whether he likes it or not. There is a very hot seat that is up for grabs in 2024 if Mercedes doesn't turn around the entire thing with the W14's competitiveness, and that seat is definitely one that the team has spoken about with the Monegasque driver. Say what you want, but Leclerc is a very talented driver that may lack self-confidence or confidence in the car due to the fact that it fails to deliver results. So if he is able to sit in a car that can win races and be competitive week in and week out, the results would be much different. With how Mercedes has been notching serious improvements in pace in 2023 without any major upgrades, it just leaves a lot of room for imagination as to whether the Silver Arrows will be ready to let go of their strongest asset, Lewis Hamilton, and join forces with one of the most talented drivers on the grid. This has been mentioned by Dr. Helmut Marko as well, who added that while it doesn't make any sense for Ferrari to escape from their contract with Sainz, Leclerc is the driver that could definitely be on the move sooner rather than later. Leo Turini, an Italian F1 insider, said that it's an open secret that Leclerc and Mercedes are in talks about a potential collaboration sooner rather than later. As he wrote, "Everyone knows about it, including in Maranello. Leclerc understands that time is ticking, and if Lewis Hamilton decides to leave, then Mercedes will want to get a champion-level driver to partner with George Russell." While Leclerc is still under contract for the entirety of the 2024 season, unlike Hamilton, Marko believes that in contracts like the one Leclerc has with Ferrari, a performance clause could be included as well. This means that a driver would have to have a certain amount of points at a certain period of the season in order for the contract to be automatically reviewed. And from what we're currently seeing from Leclerc, I don't see him achieving that contract unless something drastically changes in the near future. Now, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, this doesn't seem to be the likely outcome in the following race in Baku, one in which Ferrari is bringing an upgrade package. True, it won't be the biggest one, but even with that, the newspaper feels like the Maranello team will still follow behind Aston Martin and Mercedes, with Red Bull far off the picture, with this scenario causing more anger and disappointment among the drivers and the fans of the team. But what happens with Hamilton in this scenario? Although driving for Ferrari seems to be the biggest dream of every legendary F1 driver, with Hamilton's childhood hero Senna following this path, the team may not be in the best position right now to offer Hamilton what he's been desperate for, the 8th championship. According to Turini, there wasn't any personal relationship between Hamilton and the Scuderia in terms of a contract being made, as he went on to add, "What would Hamilton do if he realised that he could no longer win with the Silver Arrows? I do not know. On the other hand, I know that Hamilton has never been close to the Reds. There was never a negotiation, never. It's true that John Elkann, who became president after Marchioni's death, asked for information on Hamilton's contract. We were in 2019. Vettel was almost at the end of his credits, but Lewis, having won titles in a flurry running alone, was not the least interested in the prospect. Today, 2023, but with the contracts in force in Maranello, we're talking about 2025. The media hit would be sensational, but Ferrari needs much more than a marketing operation. And I cannot help but point out the obvious. Mercedes is making massive improvements in terms of the technical staff leading the team. They brought back James Allison, one of the leading forces of the team's golden years, and it seems like they're out for blood in the remainder of the season. Mercedes is likely to be more and more competitive as races go by, and Allison is likely to achieve what he's been brought in for: build a competitive upgraded version of the W14, and with that, keep Hamilton and Mercedes for a couple of more years. Nonetheless, what do you think about Leclerc leaving Ferrari in the following years? Do you think that the Monegasque is sick and tired of everything that goes on at Ferrari right now? Let us know in the comments down below.